went to Japan in '87.
Probably for who? Do you remember?
Japan.
Okay.
I was probably way too green when I went over there. I kind of bullshitted my way over, and probably hurt me more than helped me at the time because I really didn't have many matches out of wrestling school. Anyway, I went over there and ended up being a 6.5-week tour. Well, I was there with Owen, Vader, Bob Orton. There were a bunch of Steve Williams.
Wow.
There were a lot of good guys on the trip. Now that was 21 years ago.
Yeah.
And Owen was up there, and he was trying to explain some psychology to me off and on different nights too. And I said, "What do you think I should do?" He goes, "I think you should go to Stampede and wrestle for my dad's league. They wrestle every day of the year." He goes, "That's where you learn." So when I got back to the States from Japan, I stayed in contact with him. He talked to his dad. I flew up there. Well, then after that, that's where you learn to work. When you wrestle 20 minutes a night, sometimes twice a night, for a year, every single day, and there's guys up there that could work. Yeah, that's where you learn.
Wow. Can you tell the story about bullshitting your way to New Japan?
Well, I would just say kind of embellished
Yeah.
a bit of my resume and things like that. I mean, back then I probably weighed 270, 275, and just bigger. Even once I turned 19, my lowest body weight was usually around 265.
Wow.
Just eating and lifting. If I actually just trained heavier and ate a lot more, I was like 275 and 280.
Yeah.
So I mean, my size at that time helped me, get over there. And I mean, I could move pretty well with the moves and things like that, but my psychology was just pretty much non-existent from having 20 matches or something out of wrestling school, 30 matches, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what hurt me over there. But yeah, that's it for that.
Yeah. What are your memories of Stu?
Oh, I mean, there was no BS in Stu. I mean, he was just a direct forward guy, which I like because I'm direct. If you like what I'm doing, tell me, that's fine. If you don't like it, you're not going to offend me one way or another. Just tell me exactly what you want, and we'll go from there. But Stu used to just try to, he used to run that, business up there. His kids pretty much ran it, and he oversaw it.
Yeah.
Stu just seemed like he was a hardcore guy at 75 years old.
Wow.
So, I mean, I just never saw any, softness in that guy. He just seemed hard the whole time.
Did he take you into the dungeon?
No, I mean, I've been in there. Now,
Yeah.
Benoit and Pillman, those guys spent a little more time down there than I did. But I've been to Stu's house many times, and I've been in the basement.
Yeah.
But some of the other younger guys used to stretch down there.
Yeah. Did he try and stretch you early on just to test you a bit, or no? Any good Stu stories? I mean, all the guys have a good Stu Hart story that was out there.
I spent a long time on the road in Calgary. I could tell you a story for every day of the road. Every day that we were up there. When I was up there 6 months of the time I was up there, the Bulldog and Dynamite were back in Stampede because they took some time off from fighting.
Okay.
They were up there. Brian Pillman was up there, Biff Wellington, Chris Benoit, DeSalvo, and Norman the Lunatic, Mike Shaw. And we had a pretty good crew up there.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of crazy guys and there were a lot of crazy stories. But I know that one time we had a guy on the crew that just seemed to be, every time we did something on the road, it seemed to get back to Stu.
Yeah.
Well, Benoit could talk exactly like Owen's dad. I mean, just like, hey, that goddamn kid. I mean, he could just imitate him to a T. So we'd have him call these guys' rooms and imitate Stu's voice to find out if they were snitching. When we found out who the snitch was, well, then we did so much stuff to the guy, we drove him nuts. Well, when we got home, Stu went nuts. He found out what had happened and stuff, and he came in yelling, and you couldn't help but laugh because all you're picturing is the voice Benoit just did. Now Stu's yelling that same voice about this thing, and one of the promoters up there, every time we'd wrestle in Stampede, and this used to drive me nuts. We would start in the closest city on a Sunday or Monday, and then get further and further away through the week. Well, Friday we'd have to be back in Calgary for TV, so these morons would have us 10, 12 hours away. Well, you're done with the show at 10 o'clock at night. You're getting home at 6 and 8 o'clock in the morning, and they want you to TV at noon. For months, I told this guy, who's a crack addict running this? Start us in the furthest town and bring us back.
Exactly.
I said, what are you guys missing here? Well, he thought it was a joke until every time we were away, some of the guys would just kick out his headlights. They'd slice his tires. They'd break his wiper blades off, kick out his windshield, whatever.
Yeah.
We used to get home, and he always called Bulldog leave these messages on his machine. They didn't know who else to bitch at, you know.
Yeah.
And every time we get home, Dave would play those things. We listened to him, and here's Stu. What's going on? God damn it! Dave kicked out his headlights. It was great. He'd go nuts, but it was always Stu yelling about something, you know, because the guys acting up on the road, or guys got in a fight in a bar, and we got kicked out of about 30 hotels in Canada because the guys were always doing stupid stuff.
Wow.
I mean, like, I've seen guys punching holes through walls down the hallways so they could pass beers through the wall instead of walking down the hall. I've seen guys crap in the swimming pool in the hotel, and they had to kick, you know, make people leave. I have seen it all up there.
Yeah.
And every time you get home, Stu would be bitching up the storm. So it was entertaining.
Wow. Were you there?